Welcome to the show, everybody. The tariffs and the trade war are on. We are going to spend a bunch of time today talking about it. Let me mention, by the way, I appreciate the concern from last week that I am ill, that I have taken ill, and that I am sick because of the coloring and shine under my eyes. I just have kind of crappy lighting when I'm on the road, and I'm still trying to find the right setup for travel where the lighting looks better, but I don't have to stuff my suitcase full of multiple lights. So in any case, I'm going to continue, but I appreciate the concern. I am feeling fine. Let's get into it. Over the weekend, President Donald Trump signed an order power slapping, a 10% tariff on imports from China, additional onto what was already there, a whopping 25% on goods from Mexico and Canada. That includes oil, that includes natural gas, that includes electricity from Canada. And this triggered immediate retaliation from Canada, matching Donald Trump's tariffs with their own on about $155 billion worth of American imports. This is a trade war that echoes the same chaotic approach from Donald Trump's first term, where the tough talk and the unilateral, nonsensical action soured relationships that took decades to build. We'll get into the relationships part in a little bit. Now, I've said before, and I am going to say it again, trade policy doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. Tariffs aren't objectively bad. The question is, what are we trying to achieve, and what is the dynamic effect going to be once we account for how our trading partners may or will retaliate? Now, we saw booing of the the U.S. national anthem at multiple Canadian sporting events over the weekend. We'll get to that later, but that really sort of goes to the broader sentiments that can ripple out and just destroy relationships. Now, we're going to get to that a little bit later. The point here is that Trump believes, I guess, that there is some long-term benefit to 25% tariffs on most Mexican and Canadian goods, plus an extra 10% on Chinese imports. He has admitted in the short term it's going to be painful for Americans, and we will dig into that as well. The major immediate question is, how does this supposedly America First policy square with the trade deal that Trump himself negotiated in his first term, where he came to us and said, I just did America First. We're reducing protectionism with some of these allies. Now he says, no. We're going to benefit from more tariffs because of fentanyl. We know it as fentanyl. Fentanyl and immigration and not paying their fair share and being treated very unfairly or whatever. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the United States has betrayed a longtime ally. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has fired back, and they've put in place their own retaliatory tariffs. Suddenly, our two closest neighbors are preparing economic plan Bs to hit us where it hurts, right in the export market. And the stock market is reacting unfavorably. The hedge funds smell blood. Pros on Wall Street are shorting American stocks to the tune of billions. This leads to a self-fulfilling prophecy because they believe the tariffs will reduce GDP and hurt the economy. They start to short, which further creates a stock market catastrophe. They used to love Trump's corporate tax cuts, and we could say those were not good for the average American, but Wall Street liked them. The bet now is that Trump is going to steer the economy into this brick wall of tariffs and inflation. We'll get to the egg prices today. I will give you a list of items I might start stockpiling, which of course only makes the problems worse. We saw that during COVID. But if the hedge funds are right, everyday Americans, people with a little money in a 401k, a pension, increasingly not a pension. These are the folks who are going to suffer the consequences because the tariffs are going to jack up prices on groceries, gasoline, vehicles, our beloved pasture-raised bright orange yolk, organic eggs. One estimate says that each American household is going to lose about $1,200 in purchasing power as a result of what Donald Trump is doing. Now, Trump now admits there will be pain. I'll play that clip for you later, but he says it's worth it. Now, is Trump well positioned as a billionaire to tell someone with a net worth of very little, whose equity is primarily in their home, who can't weather price spikes, is Trump the right guy to say to Jim, Bob, and Blanche in Arkansas that it's going to be a little painful, but it's going to be worth it? And if we look historically, we see that these trade wars can really catalyze major problems. You look at Smoot-Hawley. No, it's not Josh Hawley's internet searches. In 1930, the U.S. tried increasing tariffs to protect domestic farmers. And the result was that global trade collapsed 65%, and the Great Depression got even worse. And economists today are saying, remember Smoot-Hawley, not Josh Hawley's YouTube searches, but what happened in the 30s. Trump is either not listening or he doesn't care, maybe both. Could we be repeating one of the greatest economic blunders in modern history? China was already hit with American tariffs. Now they are going to retaliate further. By the way, at a time when DeepSeek, China's much more efficient AI model, already rattled American tech stocks last week, and the trade war is going to fuel more bad blood and more instability. So expect, this is for us to be prepared, right? Expect that if this continues, supply chains could unravel. That's Silicon Valley microchips, your local grocery store's produce aisle. Trump is pushing might makes right. It'll push our allies away. And we are undoing decades of diplomacy in what some analysts are saying, one of the dumbest trade wars in history. Now, that's another interesting aspect of it. As I've said, tariffs are a tool. A tool can be good or bad. If I've got a hammer and I'm going to use it to hammer in a nail, beautiful. Everybody's happy. They say, sir, what wisdom. You saw the nail, you brought the hammer. Awesome. If all of a sudden I can't get Bluey for my daughter on the TV and I start hammering the TV, all of a sudden the tool is not useful for the job. So some are hoping the White House is playing a game of very high stakes economic chicken, hoping that Canada, Mexico, China will blink and that this is all going to be undone very quickly. Or we might be on a crash course towards a recession. We don't have the final verdict in, but what history tells us is that if this continues as it is pointing towards, it's going to be very bad. And the new piece that we can now add to it is that Donald Trump knows it. Check out our sponsor, ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic, a tiny shot-sized drink you toss back before you have any of those drinks to keep you feeling your best the next day. ZBiotics' pre-alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol is converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It is that byproduct, not dehydration, to blame for how you feel the next day. And ZBiotics' pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break the byproduct down. If you drink one of these before drinking alcohol, then you drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep, you'll feel really good the next day. And it is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. If you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Go to zbiotics.com/Pacman and use code Pacman to get 15% off your first order. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. The link is in the description or scan the QR code.